Hey, everybody. I'm Misty Buck, host of the Marketing Monday show, and I'm also the owner of Missync Digital Marketing and Purposeful Athletics Coaching. I have a very special guest today, and I'm super, super excited. I told you all last week, I was really excited to bring David onto the show. So David Brunson, he is the owner of Fitness is a Lifestyle. He is the author of this book, When the Lights Are the Brightest, which just dropped on Amazon last month. And he also happens to be one of my very, very dear friends. So I want to thank you, David, for taking the time to be here today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, so we had this awesome book that you came out with. We're going to talk about this. So tell us really quickly, what's the book about? And then what made you write it?
So the book is about reinventing yourself after you just endured a setback, whether it's basing off the book is the end of a career.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time, most people have a very hard time making that transition, from having to get up every day and work out and meetings and practice, and then just trying to figure out who you are without that, without the cheers, without the practice, so that's the gist of what it's about. But it's just really trying to figure out who you are, creating your own game plan to create this new character,
Right.
So that, yeah.
Right. So I find that interesting because when we originally spoke, you kind of shared your story, and I'll allow you to share that in a minute. But what led you here is that you played football, right? You were part of a family. You have other brothers. You guys were all athletes. You're the football player. You're going through your journey. Some things happen in your life, and you decide to make a pivot. And then that pivot outside of, I'm going to be in the NFL and continue this career, ended up being a very difficult pivot for you because of that transition. And that happens to a lot of athletes, right?
Yeah.
Because it's, you've always been identified by your sport. You focus on your sport. You have the camaraderie. You have the trajectory. You have the schedule. You have all these things. And when you walk away, whether it's voluntarily or you have to, it's a whole different ballgame, right?
And totally. Like for me, I don't want to say necessarily meal ticket, but I was like my family's way out. So I had that pressure along with just, having to perform, and, I had that pressure on me, but my passion for the game, and once that was gone, I had a very hard time, from dealing with the constant thoughts of suicide and having to raise a child while dealing with that and depression and stuff it was very hard.
Right.
Very hard.
Right. But you share in your book that having your son at that time actually was a gift.
It was. Like I explained this to my mom before. Going through what I went through and the constant thoughts of suicide, had I not had him and didn't make it, I probably most likely would not be here.
Mm-hmm.
But having him, like I call him my hero, he did save my life, because had he not been here and I didn't go pro, like I would have just ended it.
Yeah.
So
we did. So on that topic really quickly, if it's okay, and you can pass on this question if you want, but you and I were chatting the other day because I've been through my own struggles with depression and some of these things that we're talking about. And we had talked about what would you have told your younger self at that time when you were suicidal. It's like you, and again, you don't have to share if you don't want to, but I'm just curious as we're opening up this discussion, seeing how your life has pivoted. And we're going to talk about all the awesome things that you're doing, including this book and some of the other stuff. What would you have said to yourself?
Don't go too far away from your passion. Like still be involved in it, but also help people that's in a lesser position than what you're in. Give back and just find things that actually are that make you happy.
Yeah.
It's been proven when giving back, volunteering, and everything of that nature actually shows that it decreases stress, and gives you a sense of accomplishment or purpose.
Right.
So I probably would have said that, don't go too far away from what got you to this point, but also give back to give you a sense of purpose and happiness.
Right. I love that. Yeah. And those are some of the things that you share in this book, by the way, right? Yeah. Like this book it's awesome. It's a very short read, but it has like exercises in there, worksheets. I mean, it's really a guide based on what you experienced transitioning out of football and into a father, a business owner, and all these other things that you were struggling with. But now you're on the other side of that, and this is a piece of service, is it not?
It is, which is very awkward for me to even put a book out and have my face on the front of it, because I'm very much
your face is not just on the front, it's also on the back.
On the back too.
I'm looking at
it. No, but being like very big introvert, very big, and always tried to stay out of the spotlight.
Right.
You know. So yeah, to be like plastered on the front of something is like crazy for me, you know, and I don't even really do well around people if it's outside of, you know, workouts or football or anything like that. Like communicating, it's not my strongest point.
Yeah, you're not the kind of guy you're going to go to a networking event and start handing out business cards.
I'm not, but I'm you know what, I'm very happy that I did it. You know, it's just like climbing over those fears of, you know, being in front of people and all those things. So I am very happy I did it. I still think it's a little awkward for me, but yeah, I'm happy. I am happy that I did it, you know?
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. Well, you know that I'm one of your biggest fans. So
I'm a fan of yours too, Miss.
And that's why we're here, just to compliment each other the whole show. So going up on a Monday. So anyways, all right. So we have the book, you put this out, but before you got there, you actually started a business. So you were talking about finding a way to take the things that you were interested in and passionate about and do more of that, but also serve. And you, I have to say, saved me during the pandemic because we were friends before this, but the gym shut down. My trainer lives in another area of Miami. He was sticking to himself at the time. And so David's like, oh, I'm doing these online group Zoom classes. I was like, I'm there. And so they were about 20 minutes or so. And honestly, I got in like the best shape of my life doing your Zoom classes. I think it was like 4 days a week, because I think we didn't do Wednesdays.
We didn't do Wednesday. No, we did not. But yeah, I consider COVID to be I know it might sound weird. I considered it to be a blessing in disguise, you know, because it forced me to do something I had been talking about.
Right.
You know, and I was just procrastinating. But it forced me and a lot of other people to just change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that it was new for me, you know, not getting that in face energy and stuff.
Right.
Having to basically create that energy was a little different, but it worked out.
It was different, but you would even I'm telling you, we're motivating. There were other people on the call, obviously, and you'd be like, Misty, and tell me something about my form or my effort or whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, you caught me, you know, so.
Trying to cheat.
Yeah, exactly. You're cheating, or stop cheating. I can see you. I'm like, man, I'm on the carpet of my office with a Zoom camera, pointing at me, and he still catches me. Jeez. So, but no, it was awesome. And the workouts that you did and with limited equipment, because at that time, no one could get equipment because everything was selling out, because everyone was building their home gyms now. And it was insane.
I think I told you to get, it was duffel bags. Remember, I had you doing power cleaning duffel bags.
Yeah, we had all kinds of stuff. I have these bulky, Bowflex, what I call the Bowflex, weights. And you were like, you really got to get other. I'm like, these are what I have for dumbbells.
It worked out though. It did work out.
Things, I know. Yeah, no, it worked out. We made it work. We made it happen. So anyway, so I want to thank you for that, because you were just so awesome and supportive and all of that. And our friendship has continued to grow. And I'm so proud of you with your book. But let's talk about, I think so this is a show about marketing too, and your small business. So I think it would be really interesting to hear is why you chose to get into your business. Did you name it Fitness of a Lifestyle, that kind of stuff?
Okay. So the name actually came to me back in 2012.
Oh.
And I actually told Dave about it when I first thought, of course, Dave, but
he's not talking about himself, by the way. His name is David, but he's talking about somebody else named Dave. Let's just be clear about that. Shout out Dave Foreman.
But so yeah, I came up with the name back then. So 2019, Okay, so 2018, from like September of 2018 until about February, March of 19, I was sleeping in my car.
Yeah.
So while in there, I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just see if it's still available and just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. So the name is, it was still
You
there.
meant like it was available like in the Florida system or the websites or what?
Nobody has it.
Nobody has it.
Nobody.
So,
so I was like, perfect. I was like,
Uh-huh.
this is a sign.
Yeah,
Just to,
totally.
It's finally
I
time
didn't get
to
that
do
lucky with naming my license plate. So there you go.
But yeah, so that was I was blessed to still, that name was still available.
Yeah.
So I was very excited. I took that as the sign of, what, this is the time to go ahead and pursue this. I've been in fitness forever, so let's do it. I got my degree in it, might as well stay in it.
So this is what I love about this, because people love to make excuses for things of why they and put limits on themselves of why they can or can't doing things. And you just shared you were in your car for roughly 6 months or so, maybe even more.
Yeah.
And you had this idea and you were like, you know what, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. Well, I was coaching college football at the time too.
Coaching college football. Were you working at the gym
Yeah.
So you were training already as another gig.
Yeah. And
trying to save up money.
Yeah. And it was still, like I said, I never viewed me sleeping in the car or sleeping at the gym or whatever it is as like a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people did find out what I was going through, it's like how could you be smiling?
Yeah.
Like, how could you be happy? Because that's not, this is where I am right now, but that's not where I'm going. So like I would always still have a smile on my face.
Right.
But it was very interesting, especially being a dad and having to make sure I didn't put him through the situations like whenever I had to get him and stuff, so, but it's, man, that's
you've come a long way.
Yeah. And I have to remind myself about that sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I've never been the type to celebrate myself. I always celebrate everyone else. So I do have to sit back sometime and just remind myself, like, I was just there not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I consider myself to be very blessed in that aspect for sure. But yeah.
Yeah. No, but I think that's an awesome point, because I think people kind of get stuck in, we talk about this all the time too, you and I, people get stuck in their mindset and they put limits on themselves, or they make, instead of just saying, all right, like this is my situation, but I'm going to look for the good. I'm going to look for the gratitude, and I'm going to see what I can do to move forward. It doesn't mean that it's not hard. It doesn't mean that behind my smile that this is not something that's very difficult to do, but it means that I can still do this.
Yeah. And so actually, back to the business thing. So the fitness is a lifestyle. Like I make it a point to make sure everyone knows, if you're going to work out with me, that is not just fitness.
Yeah.
Like you have your fitness, the physical, but you also have your mental, your spiritual, and your emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, sometimes workouts may go from actually lifting or whatever it is to like almost a therapy session.
Yeah.
Like people, you just got to come, you just like, let it out. Just let it out.
That's awesome.
So you can feel better and get better results from your workouts. Because if you're not there mentally and, you're down, you're not going to put in the effort, the work necessary to get the results that you want. So I'd rather, let's sit down, let's talk this out. Sorry, whether it's relationship, whether it's spiritual, whatever it is.
Right.
So that is the actual meaning behind Fiaz, which is just the entirety of the well-being.
So like the holistic, complete version of working with people.
Yep.
Which I love that. And I love that you take that approach, because how many times have you been in the middle of your workout and your mind is somewhere else and you're not putting in the right effort, but also you're kind of doing your exercises haphazardly. So now you risk injuring yourself, right? Because you're not paying attention.
I actually did get hurt one time.
You did?
I spaced out just thinking about like home situation, and actually I think it wasn't my back. I actually hurt my back on a power clean because I was just like spaced out mid lift.
Right. Stop paying attention to what you were doing.
So like it's like you need to take care of these things. Take care of these things before you sit there and pick whatever it is, whether you run or lifting weights. You can get hurt in anything at any time, but just be clear of mind is very big. It's very big. So
you
like
need
I said, I
that.
try
You need
to.
that in business. You need it because if you're in business and you're not at your full potential, the same thing. You're gonna maybe make decisions.
Yeah.
Right? Would you agree?
Yes, very. Yeah, like you're not gonna think logically, or a lot of times you just go off of your emotion, which I think we've all done that, and it's backfired on us. But yeah, you get like work out your situations. Like I tell people all the time, write it out. Talk to the paper. Like you're having a conversation with yourself through the paper.
Mm-hmm.
It's like get it out of your head and just write it out, and talk through it. Or if you can't talk to somebody, write it out and talk to the paper.
Mm-hmm.
Might sound crazy, but
no, but I love it. So this has become your brand. This is not only are you doing like these incredible workouts and helping people train their body and knowing, and you're not one of these trainers, by the way, that like tells people what to do and then like walks away and doesn't pay attention. You're
like, I'll do the workouts with you.
Yeah, like you'll do the workout, but you watch like everything. You're watching like every movement to make sure that everything is done properly and that you're gosh, I'm forgetting the word, but you know what I'm talking about is correct. So that, and then when you combine that with the mental and everything else, I mean, no wonder your business is doing really well now.
Hey, thank God for that. Thank God. Sorry.
Go for it. Go for it. So you take that sip of water really quickly. So while he's doing that, remember you can get his book. This is it when the lights are the brightest. It's on Amazon. That's the easiest way to pick it up. Or you can also just probably hit him up on Instagram or whatever, and he will get you a copy of that. So, all right. So we heard a little bit about your story, a little bit about your book, a little bit about your brand. What would you say to somebody, athlete or otherwise, who is thinking of making a transition?
Oh. Contact everybody you've run across.
Okay. Well, it's interesting you say that because you were just talking about being an introvert, but yet you still recognize that you have to do some outreach.
Yeah. You for sure have to step out of your comfort zone in order to grow in just about anything that you do.
Correct.
So for me, I didn't do it. Whether it was my family or people I consider friends or whatever, I just did not reach out.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my friends or former teammates, thank you, went through the same thing I had been going through.
Right.
So I could have reached out to them and asked them, like, how did you do this? How did you go about it? But I didn't. I could have asked my dad because my dad was a basketball player in North Carolina and stuff. And then he had, life, messed around, had 5 of us, so he had to let dreams go, But yeah, stay in contact with people that were in the same area that you were in, but also don't be afraid to get help in therapy because that was looked down on, So like going through that, I understand that it's not a negative thing, So yeah, just stay in contact with people and get the help.
Yeah,
if you're not able to do it. Yeah.
I think that there's such value to that, right? To setting that space for yourself and knowing that whether it's once a week or whatever it is, for that hour, it's just for you. It is for nobody else but you. It is not for building your business. It is not for doing something for your kids' homework. Like it's just strictly for you.
Yeah. That's probably.
We had a knock on the door.
That's probably.
We'll see who it is. Oh, Lyric, you want to say hi?
Come here.
We have a special guest here. Wave.
What's up?
Can I come with the kids?
Yes.
Very important question. And there he is, Lyric Brunson.
My special guest on every Zoom workout.
Yes, that's your special guest everywhere you go. So, all right. So reach out to your contacts, go to therapy, or get someone that you can talk to and help you through the process. Because even if it's not a therapist, even if it's a coach, even if it's a mentor, whatever it is, just have a place to go where you can talk through all the stuff that's in your head. Because sometimes even writing it out is awesome, but it's still just left for you to digest it on your own. Right?
Yeah, it is. Like I said, there's a lot of like the writing it out and talking. That's the starting point.
Right.
I think, but it's not the same as talking to you and getting your opinion on something, or your feelings and emotions about something, and yeah, it's like, so for sure, getting the help and just talking it out, for sure. Hug it out, get a hug, release stress.
Yeah, I love that
But
too.
but like I said earlier, um give back. The other thing, find things that make you happy, and don't sit in that little dark room and dwell on the negative. you
Right,
know Try to find things that make you happy while you're still in the process of working through those same feelings and
right,
stuff.
right.
So
And if it's not football, if it's not fitness, if it's not coaching, if it's not sports of any kind, that's okay too,
yeah,
right? Like for those that are transitioning out of being an
like,
athlete, there's other, you have, even maybe might not have explored it before, you have other interests.
but that's something that you have to learn.
Right.
Getting to know yourself.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to, like for me, I didn't know myself outside of football. Like that's all it was. I was a great student, like never got in trouble. I had great grades, but I just didn't know how to apply that to life outside of,
Right.
like, what am I doing without football? Like, what am I good at? What do I like to do? What am I good for? It was a lot of those
Yeah,
questions,
of course.
So trying to figure those things out, so getting to know yourself and understand who you are is a very big and can be a scary thing.
Yeah. But to that point, I think that happens whether you're an athlete or not, and through all phases of your life, because life is changing, and whether you are becoming a parent or your kids are leaving the house and now you're an empty nester, or you're transitioning careers or whatever it is, you're constantly in transition and growing.
Yeah. Here's the thing, like, I know I put the book in the sense of athletes, but it's like anybody that has gone through something. Everybody's had a setback,
Mm-hmm.
where they had to figure something out.
Oh,
everybody, so like I've been telling people, don't let the title like sway you away from what the actual message is, and so yeah, just like dive in, figure out who you are without something, and try to figure out, okay, what else can I do?
Right.
What else am I good at?
Right.
So
you have the book, you have your fitness brand. What and you were giving us some tips on how you built that in the beginning, and that was reaching out to contacts. And so what are some other tips that you would give somebody if they're starting a business?
Be patient.
I still haven't learned how to do that.
Nah, be patient, because like the wrong move, like just trying to get it done, could ruin everything. So just be patient. That saying, you lose money before you start making it.
Mm-hmm.
It's true in a lot of ways, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think patience is the biggest thing. Like I started 2019, but then COVID hit.
Yeah,
I'm
that
like,
was rough.
it's like, come on, like, give me a break. Like, give me a break. So I think patience has been the biggest thing. And let's see another one other than patience.
So reaching out to people, being patient,
be relatable.
Be relatable. I love that one.
So for me and my business, I don't think there's one client that I've had that would not say that I've become a family member.
Yeah.
Like I go to all the birthdays and dinners and everything like that. So I'm like, that's I actually pride myself on that more than, just going after a dollar. I'd rather have a relationship here,
yeah.
Where, although, yeah, I may not charge you an arm and a leg, but longevity,
Right.
I'm retaining somebody, and it's not just on a client, like, bro, it's more of friends or family, so that, yeah, be relatable for sure, yeah.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, go after relationships, not the dollar all the time.
Yeah. I think the other thing that you're really good at is flexibility. So whether it's like somebody is saying, oh, okay, I can't make this appointment, I got to change, or just straight out the gym closed, nobody can work out in the gym anymore. I think one of your strengths too, as an entrepreneur, has been flexibility.
Well, when you're trying to make it, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
So a lot of times,
right.
In some ways, it's like you can say no, but what are you missing out on?
Yeah.
So I was like, I've had to learn how to say no in some
Right,
places,
right.
but then it's like, all right, I'll make that little adjustment for the client.
Right.
Got to do it sometimes. Even though if you're tired or whatever it is, you still, I still find time for myself.
Right.
But I'll give that hour.
Yeah, we can change this. We can change this.
Exactly.
I love that. All right, so you have the book. You're doing the training. What's next for you?
God.
Other than raising your son, I should say, like
that's a
no
full-time job.
I know
that is a full-time job right there.
Job, yeah.
What's next, man? Just continue to grow as an individual, continue to grow the business, and try to get the book out there, get my book out some more. Reach out to some high schools and go talk to some kids and stuff, and try to get them to create a plan for whenever that day comes. But then I've gotten questions of when the next one coming out. I cannot answer that one.
Well, soon enough.
Exactly. It'll come out when it's time.
Yeah.
It'll come out when it's time. But yeah, just continue to grow. That's all I can ever ask,
So if somebody out there is watching this and they're like, oh, that sounds like the trainer for me. Tell us a little bit about how those services work.
Well, unfortunately, I'm a little all over the place. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be honest with you, but whether it's at your house or the gym that I work at, FMA, we figure out timing and what days, and like you said, I'm very flexible a lot of times. Like I'll let you know ahead of time what slots I have available, obviously, because I will never double book anything.
Yeah,
will not do it.
Not a good idea.
Like I'll even invite you to a workout that I'm having at the gym with other people. Like I'll do that before I double book.
Right.
But yeah, it doesn't matter if it's at your house or we meet up at a park or at the gym. I just try to make myself readily available to do whatever is needed.
I love it. All right. So if you guys want to reach out to David, you have his Instagram right there. You have his email address right there. Reach out to him. And whether you're looking for a personal trainer or you want someone to talk to about your experience in transition, or maybe come talk to your team about experiencing your experience leaving football and transitioning into something else. You just want to be around an overall awesome, motivating person. I think David is the right person to call. So definitely you have his stuff there. Follow him there. You're going to be able to see, if you follow him on Instagram, there's really cute posts of him and his son all the time doing stuff. And it's like super motivating. And I love it.
He outworks me sometimes.
Huh?
I said he outworks me sometimes.
He outworks you sometimes?
He has nothing but energy.
Yeah, so. He has a lot of energy. I will say, wherever we are at, he finds something to do in a way to like help and just be right in the mix of everything.
I don't know where he gets it.
Well, he's awesome. He's so awesome. Obviously, he gets some of that from you. So, all right. So again, this is the book, When the Lights Are the Brightest. Check it out. I have my copy, but it's not signed. Will you sign it for me when we're done with the show?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You don't demand me. I'm not that old.
So if you haven't gotten the book, just be ready to do some work, because it is a workbook and not just a sit and read type of thing. So it is an interactive thing. Like I said, you are the coach and you're creating your playbook right now.
It's gonna be hard to see. Super hard to see. But like there's like a little bit of an exercise there. You can see a little bit what it looks like. So it's not super daunting. And the other really cool thing about it is that there are stories in here from other athletes and things that they have done along the way. So it's not just
very good. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Actually,
you're welcome. I'm here to serve you.
No, but it's a very interesting thing. I had to make sure to put a woman's perspective in this. I put two former Olympians, and they are moms.
Right.
Because it's very interesting, because when you talk about sports and after sports, you don't necessarily hear about the woman's side.
Right.
Like, just like in general population, you won't hear about the men's side. It's like a weird trade-off. But I had to make sure to put that in there, because that's a whole other things, like having to give up your dream because you got pregnant or whatever. Like that's an entirely different thing.
Yeah, that is a completely different a completely different perspective. So yeah, I would definitely say pick this up. Like I said, it's not super daunting. And if you are interested in talking to David, there's his contact information again. So I find it hard to believe we've already been here for 30 minutes.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
So we're coming to an end. Anything else that you want to end with?
No, like if you're going through these things, I just like be patient and embrace your journey. Like embrace it and learn as much as possible from it. The good, the bad, the ugly. Just ride it out.
And you'll persevere, right?
Yes.
One of my favorite sayings is you've already survived 100% of your hardest days.
I say that all the time. Did I use that?
I don't know where I got that from, but I've heard it many times over the years. Did I steal it from you?
You might have.
Maybe I stole that from you. Either way, you've already survived 100% of your toughest days, your hardest days, whatever it is. So you will persevere. You know this. And thank you for being here.
Thank you
and for sharing your time. Pick up the book, guys. Go follow David. He's, again, one of my very dear friends. And so I want to thank you for being here. And
thank you.
We will not be here next week, but I will be here the week after with another awesome guest. And I want to thank you guys again for joining us for Marketing Monday. David, thank you.
Thank you.
Lyric, thank you. He's outside the room. And we're going to close out the show and just say, I hope you guys have an awesome week. Be healthy, be safe, be blessed. I think that we have the time change coming up, which
Sunday.
I'm excited about because I like when it's darker later. Lighter later. I get to get my workout in at the end of the day. So anyhow, all right. I'm going to stop talking now because we're already over the show time limit and I'm getting all kinds of hand signals. So I'm just kidding. Have a good week, everybody. We'll see you soon. Thanks for being here.